Hey guys, Mars Singing here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today we are finally showcasing the last of the 3 blue Super Saiyan Vegetas that got their EZA on Global, finally, and we've saved the worst for last, the physical one. It wasn't until I went over his details before I recorded that I realised just how much worse than the other ones that he is. So first of all, if we look at his super attack effect, he does supreme damage and with a high chance to stun. So high chance to stun, obviously useful in some events, Super Battle Road for example. But if you notice, both of the other blue Vegetas raise attack and defense for 1 turn on their super attack, and this one does not. And then when we look at his passive, he changes rainbow key spheres to physical key spheres. He gets 3 key attack and defense 120, then he gets an additional attack and defense 120 when performing a super attack. So now one thing I guess that does make him a little bit better than the other two is he's getting that full buff, the extra 120 on super, without having to have any restriction to his rotation. Because remember, the STR one, is it like 130 he gets on super or something, but that's when you have a Realm of Gods. As you know, his is just on super. But the AGL one, you need Mastered Evolution allies in order for him to get his full buff. So this guy just straight up gets 120 and then 120 on super, which I guess is good. But then his restrictive part of his passive is all allies' chance of performing a crit 10% and 20% attack when all allies attacking in the same turn are physical. Now, the problem with this is there isn't a good physical team to run him on. Like, just like the other blue Vegetas, his best team is the Resurrection of F Blue's 200% team, but there's barely any good physical units on this team. Now, fortunately, compared to the other 2 Vegetas that we've looked at so far, he's not really missing out on much by not getting those physical allies, right? It's like crit chance and a little bit of extra attack. So the little bit of extra attack is obviously nice. Crit chance is nice, but it's not like he's missing out on a huge chunk of stats. So I guess in retrospect, that is good that he's not required to have certain allies on the team. And you see there 6.2, so with no support, that was with all of his links active. He is hitting around the same kind of numbers that we were seeing from the other Vegetas as well. Let's keep you untransformed for a turn here. Floated off the other Resurrection of F Blues. Unfortunately, that Vegeta was on turn 3 because he was in slot 7. But it's hard enough to find Resurrection of F Blue boys like friends at the moment. So I didn't want to have to quit out and start again just because he was in slot 7. But fortunately, the rotations should be set up now. I think the best way to run this for showcasing him is honestly just to have Golden Frieza in slot 1, have him in slot 2, and then just float various partners for slot 3. So hello Pinkles. Pickles has arrived to bless the showcase. Look over here. No, he's going to look at me. Okay. Thanks. I've licked my face. Alright, so let's get on to the next turn here. Alright, so now we should have all links active again. At least by doing the rotations like this, we are getting all of our links active, which is pretty good. So we can actually get a super for you. Let's do this, and then unless we change the orbs to unless we change the AGL orbs, it's probably not going to work out too well. Hey, perfect. There we go. Alright, so again, this is Vegeta, no support with all links active, so we should see the same attack stat again, right, 6.2. I think in terms of the overall team building, so now that we've looked at all 3 of them, I still think the STR one is a really good option to run as like a support unit on a Realm of Gods team. The AGL one just seems very disappointing. Like, you pretty much need a full Mastered Evolution build in order for him to really be at his best, but he's not offering enough to the team, in my opinion, to be worth doing that. And then this Vegeta, he is getting all of his buffs regardless of, or at least his own personal stat buffs. He's getting all of those regardless of what other units you have on the rotation. But then, of course, the only other problem then is he's not offering anything else to the team, because unless you have that full physical rotation, he's just raw stats for himself, and that's it. No raise on super, so an additional super in an event where you can't stun. an additional super doesn't really have any extra like value for him, because he's not raising his defense for one turn like the other two. So at least with the other two, if you build them full additional, you're likely, well I say likely, you're potentially going to get that second super attack, which is going to give you the extra defense raise. Whereas this Vegeta, if you're fighting against a boss that can't be stunned, then an additional super attack, I mean you are doing extra damage obviously, but you're not making yourself any safer from like super attacks or anything like that. So now we've got the rotation with Supreme Kai of Time. So let us do, we don't need any types of orbs in particular, so we'll get a super for you. And then I should have tried to make sure I got 3 orbs for her though, just for the defense, but at least she has type advantage. So we have Prodigy's Resurrection of F, Fierce Battle and Super God Combat, and then we have the support from Supreme Kai of Time. 191k defense at the start of the turn. Remember, he gets 120% on super, so he is over 400k defense, but again, that's, I suppose they probably made up for a little bit of him not having the super attack effects, right? Because the other two Vegetas were around a similar level of defense with their super attack effects factored in. And then obviously, like I've already said, if they get a double super, then they're raising their defense by even more. Whereas obviously this guy is getting the just over 400 without the super attack effect, but then he has no way to like push it up any higher. So yeah, 6.3. So I mean, he's going to tank normal attacks from most enemies for double digits. I actually think when it comes to like AGL Broly and the Metal Cooler Core, do you need more than 400k to tank their normal attacks for double digits? I think the Metal Cooler Core you actually might do. So that is unfortunate, but I guess it is what it is. I think it's very unfortunate the situation that these Vegetas ended up in. I mentioned it in one of the previous videos, and I'll say the same thing again. Even if they were planning to delay Golden Frieza, and I know these EZAs released on JP at the same time as the LR Golden Frieza, as the part 2 of the Resurrection of F Blue celebration, but if they already knew that they were going to push back Golden Frieza, they should have just released these EZAs on release with the Resurrection of F Blues, because I feel like their team fell under the radar like super quickly, and whilst these units wouldn't have turned their team into like a super top tier team, they obviously would have been pretty helpful for that team at the time, whereas now it just kind of feels like it's too little too late. Like I say, I could maybe see using the STR Vegeta as a Realm of Gods floating support unit if Realm of Gods like starts to make some kind of a comeback, like we get a bunch of new really good units or something. But other than that, I can't really see myself using any of these guys after this point. Maybe you could make an argument for the physical Vegeta. I'm trying to think of like a Super Battle Road stage that could come out. Do we have a Mastered Evolution one already? Can't remember. So like maybe if a Super Battle Road stage comes out that you want to run one of these blue Vegetas, then the physical one's probably the best, simply because of the stun chance and not being restricted by the rotation being specific allies, so that he gets his full stats. But other than that, I honestly can't really see myself running these guys anywhere, which is unfortunate. We waited so long to get the Resurrection of F Blues like unit, and they were mishandled a little bit, because I mean they are decent, but they just don't do enough to be in that like top tier with some of the other Dokkan Fest exclusives that released last year. And then yeah, to get these EZAs that were like the perfect units to go with them, and then just ended up being like somewhat mediocre, is quite disappointing to say the least. So let's go ahead and do this. I guess we could probably just end it off here. I mean, overall, I'm just very disappointed. Like I said yesterday with the AGL one, I was really hoping that these blue Vegetas would be really good. You know, I've always liked Resurrection of F, I've always liked Vegeta in Resurrection of F. I thought it would be great if these units were actually really good, but it just, again, it just feels like these units fit into that unfortunate niche category of like, you know, they're just mid. I'm never going to use them for anything. Like 400k defense after supering a 6.5 million attack stat is just not really good enough to make the cut for a lot of these teams. And that's why, as I've said again, and I'll say it again, the STR Vegeta maybe holds some value as a floating Realm of God's support unit, because at least then in slot 3 he's providing 30% defense to everybody else on the rotation. The only problem is he still himself is only putting out around 400k defense, which means against some of the harder enemies he's going to get absolutely destroyed, just like Supreme Kind of Time here in the last slot. Not a great turn for her, not a great setup. I bought her on the team for the support. Realm of Gods really needs some new updates, I think, for it to be really good. But let me know what you guys think down below. Now that we've gone through all 3 of the Vegetas, I didn't show his setup this time. Mine is just like the other ones, more heavily weighted to additional, and is obviously full level 10 links. But let me know, out of the 3, what do you think? Which one do you think is the best? Which one out of the 3 do you think you would actually use, if any? And let me know all your thoughts on these Vegetas and the Resurrection of F Blues and Realm of Gods, why not, in general, down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.